All right, everybody. I just want to thank you for joining us today. Today, I have a special guest, Hadlee, here. She is a health and lifestyle change coach who helps people feel better in their bodies, have more energy on a day-to-day basis, gain more confidence, cultivate better relationships with food, and become less stressed and more joyful in their day-to-day lives. Isn't that awesome? I'm so excited to learn from her today. She is a graduate from the University of Michigan with a Bachelor of Science in Biopsychology, Cognition and Neuroscience, and a Master's in Public Health and Health Behavior and Health Education. And yes, that is a lot to chew on, but we just know that she is well equipped to share with us today. Her online program is called Happy Healthy Habits, and she combines the concepts of behavioral science, habits for optimal health, and group dynamics to help her clients make lasting, influential changes in their lives. And today she's going to be sharing on behavior change and habit evolution. I love that it's habit evolution.
Yeah.
Because it's constantly evolving. Habits are good, bad, and ugly, right? So I'm
exactly.
excited for you to just dive in and share all your goodness with us.
Yes, awesome. And we'll talk about how we all have habits. There are some habits that we really like, some habits that we maybe don't, or that maybe we like in the moment, but don't really serve us very well. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And we'll talk about the different habit change strategies and the different habits that we can start to cultivate for sustainable wellness and just having a great life.
Yes, I'm so excited, Hadlee, because I often joke that I am allergic to exercise.
Yeah.
And
We'll
I'm
talk a
an
lot
all
about
or
that.
nothing kind of person. So I've gone hard into the fitness regma. And then once I kind of fall into that slippery slope, it is a slope that I just cannot climb back out of. So
Yes.
I'm excited to reprogram some brain science
Yeah.
today.
Yes, I love it. That's actually one of my slides. The only thing that's on the slide is all or nothing. So we will go into that for sure.
Awesome.
That's the
Awesome.
biggest mindset thing that I help my clients with, actually. I guess that's like the number one thing that we have to break through in order to get anything else done.
That's right. That's
So,
right. I'm
yeah,
going to have to give
awesome.
you access to be a co-host. I forgot to do that prior,
Oh, okay,
so that you
great.
can have the ability to share your screen with us.
Perfect. All right.
Yay!
Can you see it?
I can.
Okay, awesome. All right. So we're
And
going to be
and I know
talking
you
about,
said
oh yeah,
that I was going to need a journal. So I do have that. So anybody catching the
yes.
replay, make sure you take this moment just to grab your journal, because from what I understand, Hadlee's going to be taking us through some personal development tools.
Yes. Yeah. So grab a journal. You can take notes, but I'm also going to explicitly ask you to write some things down as you're going through this with us, because that's how you're going to be able to get the most out of it and really reflect on how this applies to your life. So definitely grab a journal, grab a pen, um, grab some water, or some tea or whatever. And we will also be doing some exercises, just some sort of body scanning exercises and stuff like that too. So if you can be in a place where you're able to close your eyes and that kind of thing, then that's going to be great. If you're driving, that's okay. You can just watch the recording again, or just think about it and not close your eyes and get really into it. So
Yeah,
either
save
way,
that
we'll
for
be
when
good.
you're not driving.
Exactly. Yes. So that's all you will need today. But hopefully you have now gotten your journal and pen as we've been talking. All right, cool. So this is just kind of my intro page, but you did such a great job of introducing me. I won't really have to go into that too much. So I wanted to start with just asking you how you want to feel in body and mind. And that's our first journal question. So we're jumping right in. So if you can just write down how you want to feel physically, how you want to feel mentally and emotionally. If you want to add in spiritually too, I know a lot of people I work with are like, I want to do mind, body, and spirit. That is awesome. So you can add whatever you want to that. And I'll give you just a minute to write that down. And so the reason we ask this question first, you'll see the next question. The next question is going to be, what habits do you need to implement in order to actually get there? Most of the time, people start with this question: what habits do I need to do? Why do I not have these habits? What's wrong with me? Why have I not put these habits into place? It's because, well, there are a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is that we don't start with this first question. How do you even want to feel in the first place? What is your why for any of these habits that you want to put into place? So, maybe you've heard that you are, quote unquote, supposed to exercise, or you are supposed to eat a certain way, or you're supposed to meditate, or you're supposed to do any number of things. There are so many things that experts online are like, you should do this, you should do this, you should do that. And then we start to should all over ourselves. So we're going to get rid of all of that. We're going to start with how we actually want to feel. So if we can start with that, then we can identify which habits are going to help us actually get to that place. And, we are all pretty knowledgeable about like the options for like what habits can help us get to this place. And so now I want you to write down what habits you might want to start to implement. Is it exercise? Is it journaling? Is it eating in a way that serves your body better? Is it relaxation techniques or meditation or mindfulness? I actually call it sitting in silence because it's the least loaded term. Sometimes it's like people are like, meditation, I'm supposed to sit like this and I'm supposed to like, get everything out of my mind. And there's like all this pressure on it. So I'm like, just sit your booty down, sit in silence, and have it be whatever it is.
And it doesn't necessarily always have to be like, because you can listen to waterfalls and birds chirping and stuff like that. So you can distract your mind from all the things, right? And I like to lay on my living room floor with my arms wide open because it just
yes. That's a great way, especially in the summer, to dissipate heat. So if you have a lot of like heat in your body, that is like the best way to get the heat out, is just like lie down. Yes. Arms out, legs out. It's great. That's my favorite too. Awesome. So, maybe other habits might be, let's see. What other habits do we have? Starting the day with some sort of gratitude practice, or starting the day in a specific way. Maybe it's ending the day in a specific way. Maybe it's getting to bed at a certain time. There are many, many, many habits that we can identify here, but just write down which ones are, what ones do you sense will help you to start to feel the way that you want to feel.
Yeah. Well, I know exercise is definitely one of them, but I need to get over myself.
Yes. So, okay. So do you want to share with everyone what you wrote down for how you want to feel, and then which habits are going to help you get there?
Yeah. So I definitely, I want endless energy. Like I want to have that boundless energy where you're just like, yes, let's just go do this, and not feel like you're dragging a piano behind you. And I want to be able to like run around and do all the things without my body hurting and screaming at me because I am inflamed or whatever. I don't eat terribly bad, but I should be eating more, because I know that when we don't eat consistently, it's not
Mm.
doing us any favors. So that is definitely an area that I need to be more cognizant of. I drink tons of water, which that isn't an issue. And then and just continue to just have like the faith mentality instead of the fear mentality. So there's so much going on in the world that we can be consumed and paralyzed with all the bad stuff. And in my belief, I am not to fear tomorrow because today's got enough problems of its own. So I just want to live in the moment and just enjoy each minute as I am being blessed by it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And then some of the things that popped up for me to do, I got to exercise at least, I wonder if there's a pill for allergies for exercise. And then on the personal development, one of my goals is to read 2 books a month. I think I can handle that. And then to eat more often, obviously, and to be able to plug my phone in an hour before bed, because I tend to hang on to it until I am crawling into the sheets, and I need to stop that.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's a huge one. Yeah, I forgot to mention that one. That one's so big. Keep your phone outside of your bedroom and yes, awesome.
Which is so hard to do because we like, oh, it's my alarm.
Right. I bought an Amazon alarm clock, digital, like gives like in the morning. Yeah, it's great. And actually I bought one and so did my husband. He has one and I have one because we get up at different times. So neither of us has our phone in our room. And it's like one of the best $10 investments I've made.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. So hot tip. Not a very sexy tip, but it's fine. So then the next question is, which habits do you need to stop doing in order to get to where you want to be? So if you want to write that down. So I'll give you some examples as well so that people can write this stuff down. Maybe it is emotional eating. Maybe it is sleeping not enough, or maybe it's sleeping too much, or maybe it is procrastination. Maybe it is.
Why are you talking to me, girl?
Well, if you've got the all or nothing, then procrastination is the bane of your existence, I'm sure. I used to have it bad, so I totally know. Yes, yeah. Maybe it is alcohol use. Maybe it is, or any drug. Maybe it is spending, right? Retail therapy. Maybe it's checking your phone more than you want to be on your phone. Maybe it is distracting yourself from the present moment with Netflix or your phone or any number of things. So what habits do you need to stop doing in order to get there? And we can look at this not as like, oh, like I'm not allowed to do this anymore. Instead, we can look at it as, oh, I get to take this out, because most of us are overscheduled. So if there's something that we can take out of our lives, that actually makes life a lot easier. So it's like, oh, I get to not do this anymore. That's actually pretty nice. Yeah.
I guess my biggest one is procrastination. I've done a lot of self-work when it comes to like my routines and time blocking and removing distractions when I'm working on projects, stuff like that. One thing I do fall into though is I sometimes will buy chocolate and hide it from the rest of the family. So that when I'm like, oh, I'm feeling like I just need a little pick me up. And because I chose not to drink coffee, like I just have my 2 cups of coffee in the morning, and then it's the rest of the day I just water. So if I need that little pick me up in the afternoon or early evening and I'm still working on something, then I'm like, oh yeah, I do have that little bag of chocolate over there. Like I just gotta go. Like, so that is one thing that I know is not serving me well, because it's probably taking me
Okay.
away from all the other good stuff.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. That's so good. So that's an easy one to stop doing, right? Is because you just don't buy
Just don't buy it. Yeah, but it's at the checkout line, Hadley.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that actually, the checkout trap, because, and I'll just briefly tell you, their decision fatigue is very real. So decision fatigue, the reason that we want to create habits is because we we want to have things automated. We want to have our habits be habits, things that we don't really think about, because otherwise we have decision fatigue. So it's like when you're just trying to decide, do I want to exercise today? What do I even want to do for exercise today? Like what kind of thing? How long do I want to exercise? Is it even going to be worth it if I only get this much in? Whatever, whatever, whatever. So that decision,
Do
like
I have to
making all
wash
of the
my hair?
decisions.
Like nada.
Exactly. So throughout our day, we have to make decisions throughout our day. And the more we can automate things to not make decisions, the less decision fatigue we're going to have. So decision fatigue is like when you are doing all the things throughout your day and you're like killing it, and then at night you end up eating the whole tub of ice cream because you just can't make any more good decisions for yourself, and it's just like whatever. The other place that we can get decision fatigue is grocery stores know this about human beings, is that we are making decisions as we go through the grocery store. We're like, should I buy this or should I buy this? Should I buy this? Should I buy this? All of these things. And then we get to the checkout line, and that is the point when we are at our lowest for being able to make decisions, because we've made so many decisions before we get there. And so this decision fatigue makes it so that we make the impulse buys. We're like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna grab it. So that is like a huge piece of habit change, is automating these things. And we'll talk about how to actually automate these things so that we don't have to like decide, am I going to do this or not today? It's more like, that's just what I do. Yeah. So yes, so I'm really glad you brought that up about the checkout line.
It gets you every
It's
time.
huge.
Almost.
Yeah. Totally. And another just like tip for just grocery shopping in general is making a list of all the things that you want to get, and not getting anything else. Just like, so that you don't make any other decisions. It's just like, this is what I'm getting. And then you'll have a little bit less decision fatigue when you get to the checkout line.
And never, ever go hungry.
Yeah.
You will buy everything you don't need.
Never go to the grocery store hungry. Yeah, never. So good. I've done it before. It is a trap. Absolutely. Yes. Awesome. Okay, cool. And so then the last question is, what wellness routines have you already put into place? So it's always beneficial to acknowledge what you have put into place so that we can leverage that for our future selves. So even if you're like, I don't have any good habits, you probably do. Think like brushing your teeth. Hopefully you do that twice a day. If not, please start doing that.
Flossing is my nemesis.
Oh yeah. So we can stack that one on to brushing our teeth. And so that's the great thing about leveraging the things that we're already doing, is we can habit stack. That's a strategy, a behavior change strategy. So that's adding something on to the end of the habit that we already have consistently. And we can also see, how did I actually put this into place, and what was the most effective way to get there for me, and now how can I actually start to do that with these other habits? So we have to acknowledge the wins that we have. We have to celebrate those wins, and then acknowledge how we can actually leverage what we learned from putting those things into place for the future as well. Yeah, awesome. All right, so what wellness routines have you already put into place? And it can also be with your business. You already mentioned a couple things too, like
Yeah,
packaging and all that.
the time blocking. I love my morning routine. Like even, and one of the things that I've really established over the last number of months is even on the weekends, I still get up at the same time as I would during the day, during the
Oh,
week.
amazing.
So,
Yes.
so it still allows you to still get the same amount of sleep and you still get that same routine. So nothing like gets jived. And I always find if I end up getting too much sleep, I'm even more tired. So
Yeah, lethargic. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm like not
Totally.
doing it. So I'm just gonna stick to the regular routine. And that my
Mhm.
boys both, well, I have a teenager, so he sleeps for however long he needs to sleep. And I have my husband's a night owl, so he is up till 2:30, sleeping till 10, 11, 12.
Oh,
So
wow.
so
Wow.
I love being able to get out between 6 and 7 to be able to just enjoy my couple cups of coffee, my devotions, just sitting in quiet, looking out my window, watching the sun come up. And then I have fur babies, so and they're all outside, so I go and spend time with my fur babies.
Aw, I love that.
And one of the other things that we've done, like we've got subscribed to one of the meal box subscription type things that they send you like so many meals every week. So that's been helping us like try foods that we've never tried before that we probably wouldn't explore, and spices and flavors. And it's been really exciting. Plus it makes it easier for my husband, who typically could just fry an egg and make spaghetti. So it makes him feel like a chef, and it makes him really happy when he can make this beautiful plate.
Aw.
And it's usually really healthy meals that we are getting delivered to our house. And then just making sure I'm in bed between 11 and 11:30. So yeah.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Great. So I'm going to have you think about, like, as we go through these strategies, think about, oh yeah, I used that strategy. I didn't realize it was a behavior change strategy, but I used that strategy to put this into place. So I can use it to put whatever else into place, right?
Okay.
All right. Cool. So why habits? So we need to hone into our habits because structure creates freedom. Structure is super, super important for being able to do the things that we actually want to do in our life. And a lot of that is because of decision fatigue. If we don't have to make all of these decisions, then we have way more mental capacity to do the things we're really passionate about. So if you've ever, an example is like, if you've ever had a day where it's like, you have so much time, you have your whole day ahead of you, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do like all these things, but you don't have any structure to your day at all. It's literally like you have nothing to do that day, but you could do any number of things. You could run errands, you have a bunch of things that you want to do. You'll notice that time actually goes by a lot faster and you don't get nearly as much as you want done because you don't have any structure to your day at all. So structure creates more freedom. Some people are like, well, I don't really want to put like habits into place because I really like to be spontaneous. I like to like be creative and have all of these, the ability to do whatever. And I'm like, honestly, you'll have way more capacity to do that if you put some of these habits into place and automate them. So that's the reason that we need routines, rituals, practices that honor our body's needs, our innate human needs, but we need to automate them so that we don't have to rely on willpower. So if you've ever tried to willpower your way through a diet or a workout regimen or whatever it is, it probably works for a little bit and then not so much, which you mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So instead we want to make habits. And then we'll have that capacity to do all the other things. So we want to first, before we start with the health habits and even the habits change strategies, we want to pay attention to how our body actually feels. We need to tap into our body's needs. So I can't just come in here and be like, do this, and this, and then have you actually go do it. It won't happen. We need to actually feel how these things make a difference in our bodies. Even if it's like, well, you'll be healthy if you do this. That's not enough of a motivator to actually continue to do it. So I'm not a fan of just giving someone a plan. I want to help them actually co-create a plan based on experimentation and curiosity, rather than here are the rules, do this, 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 this. Because I used to just be like, just tell me what to do. I just want to, give me a formula for my life. Then I don't have to think about it. And that just doesn't work. And I found that over and over and over again until I finally started doing this behavior change work. And so that's the most effective way for sustainable change. So, and also, if we're not aware of how our body feels, it's hard to actually give ourselves what we need and to give our bodies what they need. So we're going to tap in. We're going to tap into our physical sensations, and just kind of what our body is communicating with us. So we'll go into this next slide. So I invite you to close your eyes, and maybe just sit up straight in your chair, maybe put both feet on the ground. For those of you who are listening in, if you can't close your eyes because you're driving or doing something else, that's okay too. You can still do this a little bit. And just allow yourself to take a deep breath. Maybe take a deep breath in through your nose and sigh it out through your mouth. Take another deep breath in through your nose, and you can do it out through your nose this time. And again, in through your nose and out through your nose. And now just start to recognize what is going on in your body. We're going to start at the top of your head and just notice where you feel any tension in your forehead or your eyebrows, down into your cheekbones, your jaw, your ears, maybe your tongue. I find that I usually have a tension in my tongue and I'm pressing it up against my teeth. And we're not going to judge any of this either. So if you have tension anywhere, you don't have to feel bad about it. You don't have to think, oh, I shouldn't have that. We're just noticing it. You can invite it to soften, but you don't have to change anything as we go through this. We're just taking stock of what our body is telling us. So then bring your awareness down into your neck, the back of your neck, into your throat. Notice whatever qualities are going on there. Maybe your throat feels dry, maybe it feels lubricated. Maybe your neck feels tense. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it feels sore, maybe it doesn't. And then bring your awareness down into your shoulders. Notice any tension there. Bring your attention now down into your arms, your biceps, triceps, your elbows, your forearms, wrists, hands. Maybe notice your fingers. And then notice your chest and your upper back. Notice if there's any constriction in your chest, your heart area. Maybe notice if there's any tension in your back. And then down into your stomach, your abdomen. Notice anything that's going on there, maybe any gurgling or bloating or heaviness or lightness. And again, we're not judging any of that. I know that's a hot spot for judgment. We're not judging it at all. It is what it is. We're just taking stock for now. And then we can change it later if we want. And notice your lower back down into your seat, your glutes. Notice your glutes on the chair. Notice your thighs. your quads and your hamstrings, your knees, your calves, your shins, your ankles, and all the way down into your feet, tops of your feet, and then the bottoms of your feet. And then maybe notice your toes. You can give your toes a little wiggle. And just notice how they're touching the ground. A lot of times we don't think about our feet, but it's one of the easiest ways to ground ourselves when we're feeling anxious or ungrounded. We can just notice our feet on the ground, and that can help to bring us down to the earth, to the ground, grounding. And now that you've kind of gone through your whole body, just notice whatever sensations are arising throughout your body. Maybe notice whether there are parts of your body that feel heavy or dense or light or ungrounded. Maybe notice any temperatures. So maybe you feel heat in different parts of your body or coolness in different parts of your body. Maybe you feel cold in different parts of your body, maybe your fingers or your toes. And just notice, okay, what is my body wanting more of or less of? Maybe your body is wanting more lightness, more energy. Maybe it's wanting more grounding, more strength, more power. Maybe it's feeling weak and it wants to feel strong. When we notice like how our bodies actually are, then we can notice if there's anything we want to change. And if we do that without judgment, then we can make a clearer path to change. Judgment clouds our judgment. It makes it cloudy. So it's harder to move forward. All right, so now you can open your eyes again, if that feels okay. And maybe write down whatever you realized during that body scan. Write down what sensations, what qualities your body is currently feeling, and maybe what qualities or sensations your body wants to feel. Maybe your body is stiff and it wants to feel more fluid. Maybe it feels buzzy and you want it to feel more clear or more calm. Maybe it feels puffy or inflamed and it wants to feel smooth, soft, integrated. Integrated is a word that I talk about a lot with my clients. It's like, I want to actually feel integrated with my body. And that just means basically being in integrity with what our body's needs are most of the time. All right. So anything you want to share, Stacey?
Yeah, so because I'm getting old and I spend a lot of time on screens, my eyes are strained. And so I'm now readers, and so then I'm readers and then I'm off. And so that I get these pulsating weird things going on in my temples. And then my eyes get super, super tired. And then it gives you headaches and stuff like that. And then the tightness in my upper back and my hips, which is, because you sit on your butt all the time. Exercise could solve that. A little yoga. Girl needs to kick her butt. And then I have this like for some reason, I didn't have it before we started having this conversation, but now for some reason, like my gums are achy. I'm like, why are you achy? I know
Oh,
I said
interesting.
flossing, but doesn't mean you have to start acting out right now.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So your
Yeah.
subconscious is like, yeah, you're finally realizing. Yes. Yeah. So good. Well, and sometimes when we do this body scan, checking in with our bodies, we realize things that we didn't realize before that were maybe like going on, but we were distracting ourselves from actually realizing what was going on in our body. So I find that happens a decent amount with people are like, oh my gosh, I did not realize how much tension I had in like my shoulders. And that's where I hold my tension usually too. So I get it. So doing these scans for our bodies is super, super helpful for being able to create, first of all, our why for doing the habits. It's like, oh yeah, my body, instead of it being like, oh, I don't exercise and I suck or whatever, it's like, and I should be exercising, like I'm supposed to exercise. It's like, no, that's just what my body is asking for. My body is like, please exercise. And so we start to, if we do these body scans more and more, we start to cultivate more of a respectful relationship with our body rather than being like, I like forcing, if that makes sense. Yeah. The wellness industry right now is in a space where it's very like, just push yourself harder, like come on, mind over matter, no pain no gain, all of that kind of thing. But if we get into a cooperative relationship with our bodies, then we're able to actually make this sustainable change, and it's way more fun. It's way less tiring, exhausting.
I know, even like I got really, really sick when I was 32, and I was frustrated that I didn't have the energy to exercise. It wasn't the fact that I was like trying to tell myself I was allergic or anything. I truly wanted to do it, but I
Yeah.
couldn't. And
Yes.
the doctor's like, you can't, you're not allowed, but all you got to do is just breathe, just do deep breathing. And so just to allow the oxygen. And he said, you have to be mindful as to ensure that each breath, that oxygen is being carried to every cell in your body so that you can support.
Wow, what a good doctor. Yeah.
So that's where I had to go when I was in that space. So even if some of you are watching and I know some of you struggle with fibromyalgia and different things like that really do restrict you because of the pain to exercise. I don't have that excuse. I have pain because I'm not exercising,
Right.
but some of you do have health issues that do cause that love-hate relationship to wanting to exercise. And so maybe just deep breathing is one
Oh
of
my
the things
gosh.
that you're asking
I
for.
am so glad you just said that. One of the habits that I do with my clients, I call it breath body practice, because instead of it being exercise or movement or physical activity or whatever you want to, like a workout, whatever it is, I call it breath body practice because anyone, even if you literally can't move any part of your body, you can still breathe. And so you can still do breath work and you can allow that oxygenation because it's so important for our bodies. So I'm so glad you brought that up because yes, it is. We can still do that, and that will make us feel so good, regardless of if we're moving or not.
That's right.
Yeah, so good. I love it. Yeah, breath body practice. Plus, it's all about bringing our breath into our bodies when we are practicing too, because a lot of times we don't think about our breath, or we don't really think about our bodies while we're working out. Or
we
like,
don't breathe deep enough, right? Because some of us are just shallow
exactly.
breathers.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when we're working out. And so we want to be connected to our breath even when we are exercising. So I'm really glad you brought that up. That's a really good point. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So shall we get into our principles of behavior change?
Yes, please. And you need
All
some
right.
principles.
Let's do it. Okay. So it's so important instead of just talking about like, okay, do this, 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 and this, these are the habits, here you go. It's so much more important that we actually talk about how to change our habits in the first place. So that's why we're talking about these things. So the first thing that we have to cultivate in order to implement any of these things sustainably long-term is this concept of growth mindset. So I used to think that I had a growth mindset until I learned about what growth mindset was. And then I was like, oh my God, I don't have that at all. I was like, I thought growth mindset was like always growing and learning, and it is. But it's also being okay with quote unquote failure. So it's being okay with, the process of learning, because a lot of us think that we have to be really good at things when we first start, and when we're not, it's really, really frustrating. That is a product of fixed mindset. So instead, we want to have this growth mindset where it's like, I'm going to allow myself to get up and fall down and get up and fall down and get up and fall down. And that's great. The other piece of growth mindset is that we can actually change the way we are. So, oh my gosh, I hear all the time from people like, oh, I'm just the kind of person who blah, 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 blah. Or that's just the way I am, that kind of thing. That always like sparks like alarm bells. I'm like, ooh, this is something we can dive into. This is an old belief that we don't have to have. So if we start to identify that as a belief, we can start to shift and change it, which is really, really cool. So instead of believing, oh, well, this is just the way I am, this is just the way I've always been, so I can't really change this about me. Instead, we can lovingly identify that we're acting out old patterns that aren't really serving us anymore, and that maybe did serve us in the past. Maybe it was like that was a coping mechanism, that was something that we needed to use in order to feel safe, or all of these different things that we maybe had in our childhood, or maybe just our early adulthood, or wherever we are in our lives. And so we can do that in a way of like not shaming ourselves, but seeing it as a pattern rather than like a personal fault. So we can say, oh, this has been my tendency in my past, and using that language of like, this has been my tendency. Now I'm becoming the kind of person who whatever. So doing it in this way allows us to address that perfectionism, the all or nothing, all of that, which we'll get into, negative self-talk, all of that stuff, and be gentle with ourselves to look at our behaviors from a lens of curiosity instead of a lens of guilt. So it's like, how can I get really curious about this rather than I shouldn't be doing this, or I should be doing this, and shooting all over ourselves. So
that's a good one.
Yes. Yes. So that brings us to identity evolution. So once we start to live with that growth mindset, that curiosity, that ability to be like, okay, how can I change this? Kind of having more of a like solutions oriented mindset, we can start to actually evolve our identity once we get there. So our current behaviors. So James Clear is like he wrote Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I think I've in my Audible, to be honest with you.
Nice. Yes. Yeah. So he is like one of the habit change guys out there right now. So he says that your current behaviors are a reflection of your current identity. So what you do now is a reflection of the kind of person you believe you are, either consciously or subconsciously, either way. To change your behavior for good, you need to start believing new things about yourself. So we have to start believing that we're the kind of person who does those habits in the first place. So this is something that I do with my clients all the time, is identify who you are becoming. So the statement here is, I'm becoming the kind of person who blank. So I want you to write that down. I'm becoming the kind of person who blank. And then you can write out all of the different things that you are becoming. Maybe you're becoming a runner. Maybe you are becoming a gym goer, or just someone who exercises however many times a week, 6 times a week, 5 times a week, 3 times a week, 2 times a week, whatever is your goal. Maybe it's, I'm becoming the kind of person who eats in a way that is beneficial for their body's needs. Maybe I'm becoming the kind of person who listens to their body, or who knows what their body is telling them, who knows what their body is communicating. Maybe it's, I'm becoming the kind of person who has self-compassion. Or I'm becoming the kind of person who has compassion for others. Maybe I'm becoming the kind of person who doesn't have to do something all or nothing, who can do it halfway, or who can do it 80%. I always say shoot for the B-, which was a very big mindset shift for me because I always wanted all A's.
It's my daughter too. She's had to relax herself a little because it gave her crazy anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm I'm like, yes, I've got exercise and I've got eating snacks regularly, but I'm like, healthy snacks, not chocolate snacks.
There you go.
Yeah. When you first started talking about it, the first thing that came to my head is like, I'm an overcomer, because I grew up with a mom that was stuck in victim mentality, and who taught me 2 things in life: you spread your legs for love, and you run when you have a problem.
Oh
And
man.
so there was like a crazy shift in my 20s where I was just like forced to actually face my troubles and take them on head on, and I wasn't able to run. I was trying, but I ended up rolling my car and having to come back and face the issues, which was like a godsend, because I wasn't injured, but it also gave me the resilience to face the music and to really grow and learn and be stretched in that space. So this, I know we're talking a lot about exercise and healthy eating, but this also works for like trauma and stuff like that. So in order to heal a lot of that stuff, you have to face it. You have to get real with the emotion of it. And I know one of the big things for me in healing some of my childhood stuff was like asking God, like, where were you in all of that? Like, do you not love me? Like, those were questions that I had to get real with and ask from a sincere heart, because it was traumatic. And so, and if he's such a loving God, like, where the heck were you?
Yeah, absolutely.
But that actually just brought like so many levels and layers of healing, of just being able to face it. And so, yeah, I would look at myself as being an overcomer and resilient.
Yes. Yeah. So your statement then is, I am becoming the kind of person who overcomes, or it could just be, I am the kind of person who, and then fill in the blanks there. I usually start with, I'm becoming the kind of person who, because so like affirmations are a big thing right now, but if we don't actually believe the affirmation, if we are just trying to like trick ourselves, then it's not effective, right? So if we're like, I'm the kind of person who meditates every day, and like you don't, then it's like you're out of integrity with your word, with what you're saying, and then you don't trust yourself. And so we don't want to do that. It's, I'm becoming the kind of person who does these things. And then we can start to, if we are doing that more often and it does feel authentic, then we can start to say the thing as, I am the kind of person who, fill in the blank.
That's right.
So, right. So yeah. Oh, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's huge. And this can be for habits, it can be for literally anything that we want to change in our lives. I This identity evolution piece, I always think of it as just becoming closer to our authentic selves or our higher self or whatever we want to call it, that is like at the core of us. Because sometimes people don't like the idea that we're like we have to change, and I don't really believe that we have to change in order to become like better or anything like that. I look at it more as peeling back the layers of the conditioned self and coming into that core, that heart of who we are. And what does that person do? Well, who is that person?
Yeah,
What do they believe? What do they how do they behave? All of that kind of stuff.
that's
So
right.
that's what identity evolution is.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
evolution is a perfect word, because if we really just took inventory of the past 10 years, we definitely are not the same people, right? So whether we liked it
Mhm.
or did it intentionally or not, we have already evolved in our life,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
That's great.
For sure. Yeah. And so then that brings us to all or nothing or perfectionism. And yeah, this is something I super identified with. And actually, it's something that my mom and my brother and I all struggle with, or struggled with. And that was something that my mom would always say, that like, you have an all or nothing personality, so make sure you don't ever get into drugs. Or like, you have an all or nothing personality, so make sure you do this instead of this. And that was like, I presented characteristics of having that all or nothing, but her saying that also so like cemented that belief that like, well, I have an all or nothing personality, so whatever. But we don't this growth mindset is that we actually don't have to identify with an all or nothing personality. We can become someone else.
That's awesome.
So all or nothing and perfectionism, I kind of use interchangeably. I usually say all or nothing instead of perfectionism, just because people are like, well, I don't think I need everything to be perfect. But it's more about like it's a perfectionist has a messy car, because if they're not going to clean their car, or if they're not going to do it perfectly, then they're just not going to do it at all, and they're just going to keep throwing things into the back or whatever. Same with like their house or their room or whatever. My
Mhm.
room in college, so sorry to my roommate, was awful. It was great like freshman year, and then it was terrible. That was actually not my fault. Sophomore year, that was the other roommate. But then by junior year, I was so stressed and very, very stuck in the all or nothing mindset, because that was kind of what came through when I was stressed, that I wouldn't clean anything unless I could clean it all at one time.
Mm.
Right. And that comes up with diets, with exercise, with meditation, or any other habits that we're wanting to put into place
Or
for
even just
ourselves.
getting organized, because that's
Yeah,
huge
exactly.
for mental health as well, right? So,
Yeah. Gaining clarity. Like if you have a business
mm,
and you're like, well, so the other piece that goes with the all or nothing mindset is like, once this happens, then I'll be able to X, Y, and Z, right?
yeah,
That's like a classic, or like, I'll start on Monday, or I'll start at the new year, or I'll start
beginning of the
next week.
month. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yep. So that piece is like a huge thing that I work on with my clients. And so these next couple of slides are going to kind of go into how to break out of that all or nothing mindset. So when most people struggle to build new habits, they often say something like, oh, I just need more motivation, or I wish I had as much willpower as you do. Or some people just are born with more willpower, and I just don't have that much discipline or that much
Mm.
willpower. But it's actually not about willpower. There's a good book by Benjamin Hardy, who also is into habit change stuff. There's a bunch of guys out there who are into habit change stuff. I'm like, can we get a couple women? But but his book is called Willpower Doesn't Work. So willpower is the wrong approach. Research actually shows that willpower gets fatigued, just like decision fatigue, as we use it throughout the day. So another way to think of this is that our motivation ebbs and flows, it rises and falls. There's another habit change guy called BJ Fogg. He's a Stanford professor and he's done a bunch of research in habit change, and he calls that the motivation wave. So sometimes our motivation is high, sometimes our motivation is low. When our motivation is high, we can take advantage of that and set up systems, architect our environment to make it easier to do the habits, maybe do our grocery list then and our grocery run or different things like that that can set us up so that when our motivation is low, then we just do it. We don't have to think about it, right? So how we solve this problem of like not having motivation all the time is that we pick a new habit that's easy enough that we don't need motivation to do it. So rather than starting with an hour workout each day, you start with 10 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes, maybe even 2 minutes, whatever is going to actually get done. Because remember, the goal here is becoming the kind of person who does the thing, not the actual thing. So exercise is just such a great example. So we'll have that as an example. If you're like, well, I have to get that hour-long workout, and if I don't do the hour-long workout, then it doesn't count, then we just won't do it. Especially if we just don't have the time to do an hour, or if things pop up or whatever, or we're like, I don't feel like doing an hour-long workout, then we're just not going to do it at all. Instead, we can start with whatever is actually going to get done. And we can also flex it. So we can also have it be like, well, I'm going to start with a 10-minute workout every day. And then maybe you're like, I can't get out of this chair to do a 10-minute workout. I just won't do it if I have to do 10 minutes. Then we break it down to 1 minute or 30 seconds, 30 seconds of jumping jacks or whatever it is, or breathing exercises if it's not, So again, it's instead of having it be about willpower, we're going to break it down into as small of a possibility as possible. Does that make sense?
Yes, right?
Right, exactly. So easy you can't say no. I believe that's a BJ Fogg thing too. It's like, how can we make it so easy that we can't say no? It's so good. Great. Yeah. So what we do is we start small and then we add on, and we add small as well. So 1% improvements add up really fast if the compound effect is huge here. So rather than trying to do something amazing from the beginning, we're going to start small and gradually improve. And then along the way, our willpower and motivation actually increases. It's like a muscle. So the more we use, if we use willpower and motivation too much, or if we use willpower too much, it becomes depleted, just like our muscles get depleted if we use them too much in one day. But if we start to build them and do like a small bit every day, then it gets stronger. Our muscles get stronger, and so does our willpower and our motivation. And that makes it easier to stick to our habits as well. So it's kind of cool how that works. It's like one step after another. And then the other piece of this is to just cut ourselves some slack. Allow ourselves to not get everything done, allow ourselves to fall apart, use kind words when we're talking to ourselves. If you tend to have super negative self-talk, you don't necessarily have to have super positive self-talk instead. You can instead have just neutral self-talk. Like, okay, this happened. Now I'm going to evaluate that from a place of curiosity and interest rather than from a place of like, you suck.
Well, and that's asking yourself, like we did a study in the spring that was on our negative thoughts, and they called them ants, the automatic negative thoughts, right? So And when they come marching 2 by 2, we're,
Aw.
we're to we're to ask them, like, is this thought true? Is it true? Like when you're saying I suck, asking that thought, like, is that even true? No. Well, maybe
Yeah,
for this
so
moment it
good.
might be, but not, it's not my actual truth, right?
Right,
So
right.
allowing yourself, like, I love how you're saying explore, be, I call it being a scientist of those things. And so
Yeah,
just
yeah,
digging
yeah.
into them, right? So
Yeah.
where are they coming
Yeah, it's
from?
like always experimenting. Just always be like having an experimental mindset rather than a like right wrong kind of
I
mindset.
love it. Love it.
Yeah, yeah. And so then we're able to think more neutrally rather than positive or negative because positive sometimes doesn't really serve us either. It's like, oh, well, that's okay. I didn't do that, but that's fine. Because sometimes we get into that like complacent territory where it's like, well, everything's fine, so I'm just not going to do anything at all. Instead of have it be neutral of like, do I want to be doing this or not? And just getting really, really curious about it,
Mhm.
so that we can make changes, or we can decide to stay to do the same thing that we just did. And again, not placing judgment as good or bad on any of those things, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, and then so when we're kind to ourselves, then we're able to just get back on track. Again, we're not shooting for perfection here. B minus is great. Uh, even a
Well, it's always a C
50%
girl.
is great. Yeah. Yeah. I literally like you can get a 50% and have that be great. You could get a 30%. If you're doing something 30% more than you were doing before, just think about how that will compound over time. So
Mhm.
we're just getting back. We're consistently like, if we think about this as like a track, it's like we're just jumping back on and we're going to fall off. This is kind of how I've seen meditation described before too, is like your thoughts are going to come in, your thoughts are just going to meander around, and then you just like lovingly just get them back onto the track or get them
Mhm.
back into the place that you want them to be so that you can go forward. So
Right.
top performers, people who are really successful, make mistakes.
Mm.
They commit errors. They get off track just like everybody else. The difference is that they actually just get back on track as quickly as possible
Mhm.
instead of wallowing and like beating themselves up, instead of like, oh, I'm just not good enough, or oh, I can't ever do anything right. Or even if it's not that extreme, like I never was like, you suck. Like I didn't have that kind of self-talk, but it was more like, I'm so disappointed in myself right now, which is kind of more how my parents also talked to me. Instead of saying you suck, they were like, I'm disappointed kind of thing. So that's kind of what I
That's
what I did, but that
interesting for
wasn't helpful
sure.
either. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so remember, it's not actually about that day's effort. It's about becoming the kind of person who does it every day. And
Mm.
then the very last thing is support. So perhaps the most important thing is being surrounded by people who are striving for the same habits, the same goals that you are. It provides accountability. It also promotes self-compassion, and it allows you to reflect on what you're doing versus what you're doing that's like not working versus what you are doing that is working versus what you can change in an objective way, in a way that is not, you're not getting like spiraling downward into that black hole of I don't know what to do kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Accountability is definitely the key for me.
mhm.
Because anytime that I have been successful with my exercise rigma, it's usually when I drag a friend along with me, or
Yes.
I actually commit to a personal trainer and then I'm booked and I have to, like, okay, I can't waste your time.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
drag my ass to the gym.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, having
Right?
that support is huge. Having the accountability and just having like a guide. So preferably you have someone who is like a few steps ahead of you, and that provides momentum without total discouragement.
Mm.
So, you want to be working, and that's what like in my program, I'm the coach, but then I also have people who have been through the program in the past who are mentors, so they can
Right.
be like, I was just in your shoes. right before this, like I was just there. So there are a couple of different layers, like, see, there's these two people helping each other up the mountain. So it's like having a third person behind them too, where it would be like all three of them are like helping the next person up, kind of thing. Cause I think that is super, super important to have all of the steps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wisdom.
Awesome.
Even they say like the older to mentor, like we're always supposed to be mentoring the generation below us, right? And there's so much value to that. And even for like, I would look at myself, like if I was to look at someone older than me and I'm mentoring somebody younger than me, I'm not only getting filled, but I'm able to also fill those below me, right?
Yes, exactly. So, yeah. Yes.
So
Awesome. So yeah, this is my last slide. You can follow me on social media. I'm Happy Healthy Hadlee with 2 E's. If you want to follow me on there, I have some more good stuff on there. Or if you want to chat, I do health goal sessions that are free, that are really fun to kind of talk through and get clear on your health goals. Sort of gain clarity on where it is you want to go next in your health and wellness and all of that good stuff. So I do those. So if you just go to happyhealthyhadley.com/contact, then we can connect.
And you also have that program. So tell people how they can learn more about that program and how they can get plugged in.
Yes. So if you go to happyhealthyhadley.com, you'll find some information on the program there. You just click on Happy Healthy Habits, and there's a bunch more stuff there. And if you sign up for a health goal session, we can also talk about at the end of that session, like whether or not you would be a good fit for the program, whether we would be a good fit for you, and all of that good stuff. So I would just go to happyhealthyhadley.com/contact, and we can just chat and see if it would be a good fit. And yeah, that's probably the easiest way to just get a feel for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. So definitely connect with Hadlee. She has got so much energy and she's vibrant.
Thank you.
Go plug into her social media profiles, and so you can keep an eye on what she is doing in this big, beautiful world of ours. And yeah, go take a look at her website, happyhealthyhadley.com, just to take a look at her program, her habits program, to learn more about that. So
awesome.
Thank you. I really, truly appreciate all that you have been able to bring into this community today. It has been so valuable and so good. So yeah, and may we all learn how to establish healthy habits without discriminating and tearing ourselves apart for not getting that A.
Exactly. Well, the other thing is, like, science shows that it's not even effective. It's like, we can't bully ourselves into habit change. It won't work. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah. So evolution, my friends, we constantly just look at evolving, and just even if it's that 1 minute, like Hadlee said earlier, if you can only do 20 jumping jacks just to get your blood flow going and your heart rate up, which those jumping jacks could kick my butt in a good day, like
oh yeah
real quick. Like you're like 3, you're like, okay, I'm ready for a nap. Not that bad, but like some days.
Hey, start with 5 jumping jacks or 3 jumping jacks if that's what you have the like motivation in quotes for. Just do that. Just do 3, and then that gets you one step closer to that identity of becoming someone who moves every day, right?
That's right.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, Hadlee, and I look forward to continuing to establish a relationship with you. You are definitely a kindred spirit.
Aw, you're so sweet. Thank you so much for having me on. This was really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much, darling. I look forward to the next time we connect.
Me too. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one.